What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about the jerkbait. So the jerkbait is a very clutch fall and into winter bait that I love to use, basically starting right at the end of summer all the way through till springtime. It's fall right now, so we'll go ahead and break down the fall first, and then we'll move into wintertime. First things first, let's talk about the setup I like to throw it on. So this is a 7-foot medium heavy fast action taper mock crush combo. It's coming with a 7:5 to 1 gear ratio from Lou's Reel, and it's 12-pound fluorocarbon that I use specifically for the jerkbait. Now here's why. So the rod length to me doesn't make much of a difference. That's personal for me. I do need it to be a medium heavy to fast action taper. That way I feel like I get a little bit more play in the rod as I'm jerking the bait along, and it's got a little bit of girth to it, just in case you do land one of those big bass. You got a little bit of oomph behind it to set the hook and to land the bass. The gear ratio on the reel is going to be much more of an important thing for me, being a faster reel, a higher gear ratio, and here's why. So in the fall, when you're fishing with bass that are blowing up or chasing schools of bait fish, and you're visibly able to see that from where you're fishing from, it is clutch that if the bait is in the water, to be able to burn that bait back in and get it launched again back over to where those bass are feeding. So in the fall time, when bass are blowing up on fish and they're feeding bait fish and they're very energetic, they're chasing after these bait fish, and the reaction bite is much stronger than it is in the wintertime or in the summertime. It is clutch to have this jerkbait and be able to throw it in quick like that. Alright, so the line, the 12-pound fluorocarbon, fluorocarbon's a must. The 12-pound, that's your preference, how heavy or light you want to go with it. I go with 12-pound, being a little bit heavier but nothing crazy thick, because I do want the line to sink, and fluorocarbon sinks better. Well, fluorocarbon sinks. Your monofilament and your braid are going to float on top of the water, where your fluorocarbon will sink. The 12-pound test is just that medium ground that I feel comfortable with throwing my square bills, swim bait, stuff like that. I will go up to 15, and I might even drop as low as 10, depending on how clear the water is that I am fishing. But 12-pound, right there in the middle, good feel. Now, that's your setup. That's it. Get yourself a medium heavy fast action rod, throw some fluorocarbon on it, tie on your jerkbait, and let's talk about how you fish it. So in the fall, like I said, the bass are chasing bait. They're going after them. They're very, energetic, and they're chasing bait. So good to move this thing pretty quickly. Like I said, if you see fish blowing up or you see a school of bait fish, throw this right up in there, right where you see them blowing. You want to give it a couple of cranks, because that square bill on the front of it, or the bill really, will bring it down. Bring it down 2 to 3 feet, and then that's when you start to jerk it. Now, when you're jerking a jerkbait, always want to do it on semi-slack line. So if your line is tight, you're going to pull this jerkbait a long distance through the water, where you're going to pull it out of the strike zone faster. When I say semi-slack line, I mean it's just not taut. Okay, it's got a little bit of curve in it. All right, you're not pulling on a straight tight line, just a little bit of dip to it. In fall time, you want to give it quick jerks, 2 to 3 jerks, and you're just constantly turning this thing in. So, all right, throwing it up into where the bass are feeding, a couple quick jerks, and the whole time you're just slowly turning this. Jerk, jerk, turn, jerk, jerk, turn. Just keep on burning it in. All right, if you come out of the strike zone, you just reel it in, throw it back in there, and keep going. What this is doing is, every time you jerk this on a semi-slack line, your bait is doing like this, right? You're jerking it, it's flashing its sides. So the bass are up there chasing bait fish. This thing hits the water, comes down, and starts jerking in front of them. It's going to imitate those bait fish and exactly what they're doing when you throw it in there. And you're doing it quickly, because those bait fish aren't hanging around waiting to get eaten. They're trying to get gone. So you want to throw in there and imitate that with your quick jerks, and you're burning it in. Now that's fall fishing. That's basically it. Keep throwing this thing in there. It's 3 to 5 feet usually for jerk baits. So throw it up along the bank and just bring it in. If you're not finding bait that it's feeding openly, you're not seeing bass pop in the water, you can still throw this over grass beds, next to cover. It's a great bait. But I keep it tied on regular so that when I do see bass or fish busting on top of the water, I'm throwing a jerkbait 9 times out of 10. Now let's talk about winter time. So we talked about fall, bass are quick, they're feeding. Winter time, the water's going to drop severely in temperature. Those bass are going to move a little bit deeper, they're going to get a little more lethargic. They're not really going to be chasing bait anymore. A lot of the small bait's going to either be eaten or have died off due to the cold temperatures. So a little bit larger of a jerkbait is a good idea. You're really slowing it down here in the wintertime. You're throwing it out there, right? Good cast out. You're going with small jerks, right? And then pause. Pause for a nice long pause. 2 to 4 seconds pause, and then you give it another 2 jerks. Slow reel. Just keep that semi-slack line. Okay, jerk, jerk. If it gets too slack, then you put a little bit of tension back into it, but never pull it taut, and jerk, jerk again. Give it a nice long pause, and you're looking to get bit a lot more in the wintertime, because what that bait's going to do is it's going to stop, and it's just going to sit there, and that's going to draw the bass in. And when you go to jerk it again, that's when they'll strike. When they get closer, they think it's an easy meal, that little bit of a twitch, and again, the semi-slack line comes in very clutch here, because if you're taut, you're going to pull it too fast. You're going to pull it right out of their strike zone. They're not going to chase after it. But if it's right in front of their face and you just give it a little twitch here and there, bam, I promise you it'll hook up way more often in the wintertime. That's the jerkbait. Go ahead and enjoy this clip here of me. I just went out and threw this fall fish busting. It's a great bait. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out. Yep. Oh my gosh, it's a tank bass. Oh my gosh, it's huge. Yeah. Oh crap. There we go, baby. There we go. Jerkbait. Getting it done with the largies. Look at this thing. Woohoo! He choked it too. Jill.